program. I was pretty serious about that. And I've dabbled with it. I did it for a month this spring. But the work that I do one-on-one with my clients is so powerful and so personal. We can go I can create such an impact. Or to be more precise, they can create such an impact from the work we do together that closely that I'm kind of a super fan of the close contact work, the one-on-one stuff.
Where you're driving the biggest impact?
In my experience so far, yeah. More I get, I see a lot of fantastic results and get great feedback, and so I'm a fan of the one-on-one work for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's official. It's popped up that we're live, and that's good news. So it looks like the restart worked pretty good. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Service Genius Lab. In today's interview, it is sponsored by funnelwave.com. Funnelwave helps visionary entrepreneurs who are relentless about growing their business, and we help people bridge the gap between strategy and execution, identifying bottlenecks, inefficiencies, and leverage points in their business. And I have a special guest today, someone I've been in contact for a very long time now. I think it was 2006, but a good friend of mine, colleague, mentor to unknown capacities. My journey's been very unique and crazy, and I don't know that some of the pivotal things in my life would have been there had it been for the guy that I'm going to introduce you to today. Kevin Dubrosky is an amazing, talented individual, high-performance coach that has helped, over 200 companies, right, Kevin, with your work over the years, and has become a high-performance coach in the last few years and released multiple books outlining how you can create relevant value to your market, how you can use particular emotions throughout your storytelling and with your sales copy. And like I said, my name is Derek Smallwood, and today we wanted to get really deep into how to unlock this maximum potential and get you to the next level. And Kevin, thanks again for joining me for this interview. And I want to leave it to you to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of your background, education, and this experience with this high-performance purpose.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for the warm invitation and for those kind words. 2006, eh?
That's 2006 in New Orleans. Yeah. And for me, it was New Orleans, right?
No.
Was it? Where was it? Nashville?
The first time I ever left Toronto was 2007. I believe. I went to Rhode Island. 2008. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a while ago. It's a while ago, Derek.
A while ago.
A while ago.
For me, I will just, you don't know sometimes, like, the changes in lives you touch sometimes, right? Like, you sometimes are in passing helping people, especially online, or maybe, and this goes for everyone, right? Like, someone asks a question, and maybe they're just standing in a group circle at a networking event or an industry event, and there's advice given, and it's passed to and fro, and lives can change, and you might not even know that, right? So for me, I had started several companies. I've gotten lots of companies to 6 figures, and I hadn't gotten very many to 7 figures. And at this point, whenever we had met, I was in the process of working with my cleaning company to grow it, and I can look at the financial numbers and say that it reflected on the balance sheet double right? Like the changes that had happened, and a lot in part to me being able to let go of self-limiting beliefs and believe in myself, from contact with high performance people, if I may, in my life, whenever I decided to take action and that I am sick of the nonsense in my life and that I am in control of my destiny, and I'm going to go out and seek answers, right? Like, get what I need to be able to grow. And that being said, what are some of the defining moments in your life that's led up to this point, Kevin?
I'm really happy you used that phrasing, sick of your nonsense, because it's funny. So this guy, Brendan Burchard, is the video you see, can you read this properly, or is it reversed? Like, can you see this? Like,
it's proper, Kevin.
Okay, cool. I know it's sometimes with video it's like backwards or whatever. But when Brendan deconstructed, Brendan is this world's second highest paid high performance coach, behind Tony. Tony Robbins is the world's #1 highest paid coach. But Brendan recently completed the world's largest ever study on high performance. And one of the 6 things that he discovered is absolutely necessary for someone to start showing up in the world differently and to start performing at their highest potential consistently over the long term is this factor here, necessity. And when you ask me that question, like, what are some of those key moments? It was definitely moments of necessity where I felt a tremendous need to move in a new direction. So in 1999, I entered the cleaning industry as a franchisee for a larger cleaning company, window cleaning company at that time. And I signed a 5-year contract as a franchisee. But after 4 years, I felt necessity to go on my own because I was not happy with the relationship I had with the person that was running the franchise. I was starting to get traction with sales, but I wasn't personally benefiting, and I felt kind of unappreciated. I felt a little bit irritated, and I wanted to generate a little bit more abundance and less time. So I went on my own, and I started my own company with no leads and no work and no clients and no connections in 2003. And the whole time I've also been very interested in only working part-time. So I'm one of those weird guys that's only ever worked part-time, and I still currently only work part-time by design because I really value freedom and I really value the ability to spend time doing other things besides work. So 2003, I started my own window cleaning company, and within 4 years, that little company that I built part-time was thriving. But by then I had spent quite a bit of time doing the actual work. And somebody reached out to me asking for advice on how to grow their companies because they saw some of the testimonials that I had obtained on my website, and they saw some of the jobs that I had landed, and they saw that I had, even though I was this little window cleaning guy, I kind of even stolen, if you want to use that word, stolen some of the most significant, prestigious, recurring commercial contracts here in Toronto from other big established companies by being really smart about the marketing and the branding stuff. And
I like the key word you use there most, right? Well vomit. You spitting some well vomit this morning, this early?
Yeah, ready, right? And I was fortunate because I did have, I did have some really smart mentors at that time that helped me to really lock in the branding and the marketing stuff. And I started to get really, I don't want to say obsessive, but really serious about the messaging I was sharing with the market. And I discovered that it happened, like it worked. So marketing always wins, but I didn't realize that until I started to put it out into the marketplace, and I started to get these jobs. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but other window cleaning professionals from the States, from Australia, from Europe, from here in Canada, started reaching out to me and asking for some advice on how to grow their business. That eventually turned into a consultancy, that eventually turned into an agency. And that agency in 2010 was making just as much money as my window cleaning company. So necessity once again happened, and I had two businesses now, but I only wanted to work part-time. And to be fair, 2010, 11 years in window cleaning and winter in Toronto, and I was like, you know what, I want to sell this window cleaning thing. And I successfully sold my window cleaning company in 2010. I cut it in half and sold it to two people. One person bought all the residential, one person bought all the commercial. And what made me really proud is that both of those companies thrived on those pieces of the business they bought from me. So I knew there was like substance there. But then in 2017, so January of last year, almost 2 years ago now, Derek, necessity reared its head again. And at that point, I found myself, especially when it came to the personal side of my life, in a place where I was no longer, how can I put this? No longer super stoked with who I had become. So
it's like you had new constraints even. I think I may be able to relate with that position, especially with lately. I've kind of gone on some different journeys, and freedom and our vision of freedom is a super fickle thing, right? Like, we have this idea of what it would mean to us to have our vision of greatness, or of what we would want to achieve, and we build the machine to allow us to have that destiny, right? And we realize sometimes that we have new constraints. I decided that sometimes it's best to let the machine crumble and to start a new path, to build up a new vision of freedom. How do you kind of handle, in this time that you're kind of going through, the mindset of, I've got to just let go and do something about this?
Yes, I mean, there's two machines, right? I mean, there's one machine is the business we're building. And the people who are watching this right now, who are joining us, are entrepreneurs who are building cool companies, doing cool things. But the other machine is us, at the heart and soul of that business. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we focus so much energy on the machine of the business that we forget to address the machinery of ourselves. And in my case, it's not like I got sucked into the business and then I didn't pay attention to myself. It's more like I allowed myself to inch in directions that I knew were not healthy, that I knew were not allowing me to be the best, strongest, most powerful version of myself, that were playing to my weaknesses, that were playing to my, to the bad wolf, if you want to use that legendary idiom. So I reached a point where those things kind of came to a head. And I was no longer happy with the guy I saw in the mirror. And in January of last year, 2017, I separated from my wife after 17 and a half years together. And that's a point. So I published it. So this is a book I published in July of this year, Unlock Your Next Level.
Right.
But it's funny, on the very back cover, it says here, you know, when you're ready to fight for your next dream, this book will show you how. But then it says, if you're sick of your own nonsense, open this book and read page 1. And that's the point I had gotten to. I had become sick of my own nonsense.
There is there's a couple of things that I really appreciate about the book that's unique, that I think it's easy to just kind of glaze over this point, but it's the only book of its kind that is in a kind of an adventure-based nonfiction book, which is really cool. Like you said, the phrase on the back, it says open page 1. But when you get to page 1, it literally is like, hey, if this is you, turn to page 44, and if it's not, turn to page, 20, or put the book down, right?
That's right.
Like, that's really cool. So,
thank you. Glad you loved it. Yeah. So it is. Yeah, I did design that book in a way to make it engaging and to suck people in and to help them. I also wanted it to feel light and fun. Because to be honest, there's a lot of stuff in this book that's heavy and difficult, because when it comes to transformation, when it comes to actually making adjustments to the machinery of who you are as a person, dude, that is not easy stuff. Like, that is hard work. But because it's hard work, we know it's hard work. So the last thing I wanted to do was make a book that reminded you of how much hard work it was. That felt heavy and imposing, intimidating, and instead made it fun and light, so that it would be like, yay, this is fun, this is cool, this is, oh my goodness, this is a serious exercise. Okay, I'm done that. Now it's going to be fun and cool and connect some dots, and now we do one more deep dive into like what you really need and what you need to focus on next to get to where you want to be. So.
Well, that's a good segue into one of the biggest questions I had, is some fundamental things that that people are kind of just missing, right? In different places of entrepreneurship, they're the fundamental things that aren't being talked about, that that maybe people should think about.
When it comes to themselves and their entrepreneurial journey,
right? Like the belief pattern. There's all these different beliefs that are shared into markets, and directions that are given. Sometimes, and people are paying for mentorship or paying for coaching, and they get that direction. But then oftentimes, there's places where they're not paying for that information, but there's still the sales message, if you will, or the beliefs in what's right or wrong. But what do you feel is missing that should probably be talked about more?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to share with you the 2 most powerful paradigms that I'm currently sharing with my highest paying clients, if you don't mind.
I
I'd
don't.
be happy to share that with your peeps. Yeah. Even have my trusty whiteboard here. I'm ready for these questions, Derek. So ready.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We haven't talked in a while, and I've got like the database of questions that I have specifically for the right man with the answers.
All right. Well, I don't know if I have all the answers, but I got a few. So I'll answer the ones I know, and the ones I don't, I'll just say pass.
Pass.
Hard pass. But yeah, let me share one huge thing with you. So when it comes to understanding, again, I don't know why I'm using this word, machinery of humans. I think only because we said this a few minutes ago, but just to understand how people work, like how, we'll just say a human being works. This is how we work. So we have this flow. Oh, you can see the nice reflection of what I'm looking at out my window too. The condo across the street. But humans follow this flow when it comes to generating the reality that we're currently experiencing. So B stands for beliefs. T stands for thoughts. F stands for feelings. A is actions. And because we're doing this interactive training right now, let me ask you, what do you think the R stands for?
Reason.
Good guess. No, it is the result. Yeah, results. So the beliefs that we embrace allow a certain set of thoughts to take root. When we dwell on those thoughts, they generate an emotional state, feelings, and in that empowering or disempowering emotional state, we will take action of a certain kind, and based on those actions, we will generate the result. So let me give you an example of how this would work. If we believed that someone like us could start $1 million cleaning company, then we're going to allow a thought to exist like, all right, well, how am I going to get that $250,000 contract? We're going to ask ourselves that question, because that question can survive in the presence of that belief. And when we ask that question, we're going to start to feel all kinds of positive feelings like confidence and power and enthusiasm. And when we experience those feelings, we're going to start taking action that is bold and courageous, that is, frankly, quite impressive. It's significant action. And we're going to be tapping a lot of our potential when we take that action. And because of that, we're going to get a really good result. But if we start with a different belief at the top, so if we start with the belief that, you know what, little old me, I don't know, I don't think I can really build a company that big. I can build like $100,000 company.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the moment it's like you've chosen what you can do, the belief, it's almost like you've predetermined the result that you're going to get, right?
Exactly. So that's the point, right? Like the beliefs that we choose will fundamentally affect the result that we generate. And I will say, most people already know this part. And the work that I do with my clients, most of them already know this. But the twist that almost everyone misses is that there's actually one level above belief. And it's this. It starts with the letter I. And I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you what that stands for. But what that stands for is identity. Because when beliefs come head to head with identity, identity always wins.
It's definitely the easiest play. There's something there that it's just in my, like, when you're saying these things, I'm just like, wow, that's mind-blowing for a lot of people that they may have the belief that they can. Well, let me back up. They oftentimes compare themselves to this vision of what somebody else is doing, which is a very dangerous thing to do because they've completely skipped identifying with themselves and what they want to become capable of, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people in our community, in the entrepreneurial community, that are told all the time to adopt a certain belief about what they're capable of, what's possible, and they're even told to do affirmations, and vocalizations and visualization.
But it's also like a deep awareness of your own pain, right?
Well, let's just go back to this. Or like, have you ever heard that expression, Derek, that definition of insanity? How does that go? Do you remember?
The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again with expectant different results.
Exactly. So doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. On this list, where is the doing?
It's first, right?
Well, no, it's this part down here, right? The doing is the action. Mm-hmm. So that well-known idiom says, hey, if you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, you're crazy. But the doing is way the heck down here, right? So it's almost like it ignores all of this. But the truth is, the definition of insanity is being the same person again and again and expecting a different result.
Right.
So like all those little mantras and affirmations and stuff like that won't actually make a dent. I'm going to get rid of this line again. Until we start addressing the identity piece. Because the identity is what actually defines the result. Yeah. So here's a heavy statement I want to share with you and whoever's joining us on this call.
Yeah, and before you share that real quick, I mean, we do have several people on here. Drop your questions below, and so that way I can let Kevin know the questions. And also, be sure to hashtag Team Live in the comments below if you want to qualify for when I spin the wheel and give away prizes for being here. So, yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Kevin, but I want to make sure people know that they can ask questions, and we will get them addressed today.
Okay, sweet. So, your external reality is an absolute perfect reflection of your internal reality.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. So your external reality, and when I say your, I mean mine, I mean yours, Derek, I mean you, the person who's listening to me say this right now, watching the recording or watching me live, everything you're experiencing in your life is a reflection of the internal reality that you have created. Now, another way of saying that is that we don't get what we want, and we don't get what we do, we get who we are, which is what this is all about. So who we are defines what we get. So if we want more, or if we want different, it's not enough to do more or to do different. We actually have to be more or be different. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. You've got, that's actually, I think I have a slide that I was at the Automate Grow Sell Experience live event doing a talk, and that was like my first slide was be different, right? And you actually have to be that, you have to be different for yourself and for your team as a leader. You have to be different for your family, and I often think that there's definitely these maintenance friends and there's these good friends, and you have to be different for how you're interacting from that capacity as well.
Yeah, you have to be different. If you want different, and again, only if you want different, you have to be different. Or if you want more, you have to be more. Yeah, it's not enough just to believe more. It's not enough just to think more. It's not enough just to do more. You actually have to be more. And that's where the transformation, the growth, that's why transformation and growth is so important, because that's about you actually becoming a more powerful, aligned version of you.
And what's something that you believe in, or your belief that some other people might think crazy, but you embrace it, and you've done several of these things, where you have this maybe even audacious goal, right? Like, if you were to tell someone that that's what you're going to do, they think you're crazy, but you did it. You've done lots of this kind of stuff, but what's some examples?
Yeah, I mean, right now I have 5 personal goals I'm working towards for April 30th, 2019. Would you like to know what they are?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so there's this really weird belief that talent is important, and that you need to be talented to do certain things. And if there's one little takeaway that I can share with your audience and the people joining us right now, it's that talent is wildly overrated. I know that you've heard that, but when you start to actually act in alignment with that conviction, it's amazing what can be unlocked. So I'll tell you really quickly. For April 30th, I'm going to play a 4-minute, 25-second classical piano piece that has a very high level of difficulty. And I've already learned, yeah.
You've already learned some measures on that piece that I've heard that's really good.
Yeah, so I just want to say, like, I never played the piano in my life, like never even like attempted to play anything until two Mays ago. So May 2017, I took 3 lessons for like 20 minutes each, and I quit because I hated them and I was too proud. And I never touched the piano again until January of this year. So January of this year, I just started to hack my way through the piano. I have 0 talent, 0 natural ability when it comes to music, but I've already learned to play 2 minutes and 20 seconds of this really beautiful piece. And I appreciate the kind words. And I actually, 2 weeks ago, performed that piece in the lobby of the only 5-star hotel north of Beverly Hills in California.
That's awesome, man.
In Oprah's hometown, Santa Barbara.
That's cool.
So yeah, anyway, so I'm going to play the full 4-minute, 25-second piece, April 30th. That's goal number 1. Goal number 2 is I recently have learned, as of October 15th, so not even 2 months yet, I'm learning, I should say, how to draw faces. I've never known how to draw people, but I've taken courses. I'm not going to bore you with the pictures, but I, again, have no natural talent with that stuff. Terrible. But actually, you know what? I want to show you some pictures. I'm going to show you 2 really quick pictures. So when I took this course, it started off by saying, okay, listen, you need to create a baseline of just kind of how awful you are. And one of the things they ask you to draw is a picture of someone else from memory. So I just want to show you this amazing picture. Look at that picture. I drew that.
That's awesome.
And I put it on Instagram because I'm like, I'm just gonna own this stuff. Who cares? Like, this is the path to greatness must go through the forest of awkwardness. So terrible, right? But then I started to learn, and let me just show you. Within 3 weeks, I drew this.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah, I did that. I mean, and that seems like, I don't, and again, I'm just gonna, I just want to show you this beautiful.
the before and after.
before not, and then a friend of mine saw this and was like, "Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Can you draw me?" I'm like, "Sure." So I drew her. It's my friend Gabby.
Oh man. Hey,
You know, and that's
let me spin the wheel real quick and look at some questions in the meantime. And let's see here if we've got anything for a minute.
I'm just going to say by April 30th, I'm going to produce 30 more original works of art and hold an exhibition. And sell all the pieces, donate all the money to charities.
The wheel is spinning. Who's gonna win? What are you gonna win? I don't know. Only hashtag Team Lives will win. So, done for you services. At Legger is live. At Congratulations. There's done for you services that you're gonna win. And you're going to want to PM Luis Muniz to make sure that you can claim that prize. This is on our website, growthswag.com, to be able to get those services. So we'll be sure to get that out to you. Thank you for watching us live. Thanks so much, man. So I'm actually kind of doing some stuff like that right now. I've always been this guy that's like behind the scenes, helping people grow, publish their visions and build courses and frameworks and all this other stuff. And there was always this piece that I wasn't quite, I didn't have quite refined in it. And honestly, it's like this deep fear of, like a fear of heights, right? But for me, it's a fear of video and a fear of public speaking. And so I did it, man. I went out and spoke at several live events, and we're streaming right now. I stream mostly every day. Usually, sometimes I'm busy and I don't, but I still record some videos that we are using in some of the sales funnels that we craft and things like that. But it's like stepping up to the challenge, right? And getting the belief and identifying with the pain that you would have if things didn't change, right? There's what would happen if this didn't change within the next 3 years, and then you bring it a little closer. What, a year? What if it was still the same way? Well, what about in the next 3 months? Or in the next couple of weeks, right? If I don't move towards that, we often punt the idea down the field and never achieve it, right? Can you tell us some 3 important action items for people listening right now to help them kind of get over their fears and to start taking action towards becoming a better version of them, right? If they're looking to improve. Several people that are in my mentor group and in the lab have expressed uncertainty with what to work on next, right? Like there's confusion on what they should be working on, or maybe there's depression and they're fighting that because they've lost loved ones and they've had lots of other family issues or business issues, or there's this sense of not being able to have that professional business that they dream that they would have, right? What's some action steps that they could take in general, I guess, to sort of move towards all those things being in order, right? So obviously number 1 is buy Kevin's book, Unlock Your Next Level. So you've got 1 down, right? We'll get. So now all you got to do, Kevin, is come up with 2 more action items.
Yeah, I mean, I will say honestly, Derek, only 2 to 3% of the population is into personal and professional development. So 97% of the people out there don't give themselves the space or the time to grow. So I was listening very carefully to what you were saying, and I think the best piece of advice is to start to deliberately give yourself space to really seriously think about the person you are and how that person compares to the person you want to be. Again, especially if you want something more or something different. So it's that whole, you know, like what got you here isn't going to get you there type of thing. So if you want to accomplish or crush some crazy new goal that will unlock this whole other level of existence for you, for your family, for your kids, then give yourself space to just get really clear about the difference between who you are today and who you will need to become to generate that result.
Awesome.
You know, like, and do it regularly, do it every day. Zig Ziglar, there's a legendary gentleman named Zig Ziglar who passed away. Like a motivational, inspirational giant. If you just search him on YouTube, you can find lots of incredible speeches.
I spent many hours with Zig.
Yeah,
not like in person, but one of my first jobs was I was young and graduated from college, degree in computer programming, and I knew I wasn't going to do computer programming in a small town, so I moved to Little Rock, and on the radio I'm hearing I went to apply at this job doing programming work, and I didn't get the job because of my age, actually, is how it turned out. Because I'm like 19, applying for a system administrator job, but so I didn't get the job because of some things, and I'm driving back, and I hear an advertisement on the radio for selling cars, and it was for an Infiniti dealership. And I'm like, well, heck, if I sold one Infiniti car, the commission on that's got to be, you know, pretty good. I think I could probably do that. And so I stop by the dealership and I apply, and I get hired, and it's a recruiting funnel. There's a lot of story that could be told here about this whole experience. But when I get to the dealership to work, I found in the attic probably about 40 grand worth of Zig Ziglar training on cassette tape. And I was sending out direct mail for the dealership and doing some things, and probably at one point just making up excuses to be in the attic. And so the whole time I'm up there, I'm like listening to Zig and just learning. And I was the top salesman the month I left, and large part because of all the, you know, this forcing myself to just, like, I'm the lowest salesman, if you can imagine, for almost 2 years. I think I was there a year and a half. I'm the lowest salesman, low volume, but I'm spending all of my time like leveling up, like trying to get myself to the place where I know I need to be, and then I just bam go out and top salesman you know, after I'm ready, you know.
With Zig's help.
Yeah, with Zig.
Zig is awesome. So he once made the statement, he said, you know, people complain that motivation doesn't last. And he said, yeah, neither does bathing. That's why they recommend it be done daily.
Boy,
Right?
There's probably a lot of people that need to hear that.
So same with all this kind of personal work. It needs to be done daily. You know, like set aside 10 or 15 minutes every morning to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and a journal ideally, you know, and figure out, okay, what goal am I crushing? When do I want to buy? Why do I want it? Who do I need to be for that to happen? And then how would that person show up in the world today? So let me do one more. Can I do one more quick exercise with your people in terms of identity?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a business coach as well. I have a high performance coach that I retain to help me at my potential. So when I first came across this exercise, he said to me, cool. He said, Kevin, fill in this sentence. I am. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So I wrote this. I wrote, I am a world-class coach. And he was like, cool. He said, give me your pen. I gave him the pen. He went like this.
I am world class.
That's right, I'm world class. Because the coach part is just a role that a world-class person would play. So when I say be more, to get more, or to get different, the part that people make a mistake on is that they don't address that being more across all of their life. But we compartmentalize our being more or our growth, when in fact it must be a holistic approach to growth to be able to generate the result in the specific area we want to see the change in.
Are there any tips you might have for, in the, like, no doubt when you're trying to do something as that can seem so daunting as changing your self-identity and making commitments in your performance and your behaviors in life, how do you manage the time? How do you measure the leveraged time that you're giving yourself to make these changes?
How do you make the time?
Well, originally I wanted to ask you, how do you make the time? But that's easy.
You're asking
how do you measure your leveraged time and getting closer to your goals?
So are you saying, how do you measure whether or not you're getting closer to your goals, or how do you measure whether or not the way you're using your time is working?
The second.
Yeah, so I will say this. I mean, so when we adopt this identity, so whatever it is for you, like I would actually invite everybody who's watching this, and actually Derek yourself as well, I would love to have you fill in this sentence yourself. So take a piece of pen, take a piece of paper, sorry, a piece of pen, take a piece of pen, and yeah, okay. Write down the sentence. I am.
Okay.
And see what you come up with.
You can't see it, but I wrote I am in a big line.
Okay, sweet.
Okay. I am.
Now I will say there's two ways to do this exercise. You can do it from where you are already today. And that's great if who you are today is who you need to be to get the goal that you want. But if who you are today is not doing it for you, if it's not creating the result that you want, then you have to zoom out and go, okay, well, what do I want? What am I fighting for? And do a little bit of a visualization and like project yourself into that future moment on the timeline that you've chosen. And imagine what it will be like to actually feel that and experience that. Think about what you would hear and what you would see and what you would feel, and where you would be. And then ask yourself, you know, to feel those things, what would I have to think about all the time? What types of thoughts would I regularly be dwelling on? And for me to regularly dwell on those thoughts, what like core beliefs would I have to hold close to my heart? And then you go one layer deeper, which is if I was to be able to hold those core beliefs close to me, to the core of who I am, how would I need to see myself? What would this sentence need to be? So for me, the answer was world class. I am world class. So and this is my answer to your question, because you said, how do you know if what you're doing is generating the result that you want? So you use that process. But once you come up with the identity, what you do next is absolutely vitally important. And that is, you use what I call is Einstein's law of excellence. Now, have you ever heard the saying that how you do anything is how you do everything?
I haven't heard that one.
Okay, I want you to write that down. How you do anything is how you do everything. So there's a lot of talk about the importance of alignment and congruence with your strongest, highest self. A lot of people talk about that. But what that really means is that for you to show up as your strongest, most powerful, best self, you can't save those moments for when it's time to build the business, or when it's time to meet with this 5-star client, or when it's time, you know, to get that sale done, or even when it's time to like build a superstar crew. You can't compartmentalize that stuff. You have to actually do that work day in, day out, all across the different verticals of your life. Because everything we do affects everything else we do.
Yeah, I think I've had one phrasing of that is when you say yes to opportunity, you're saying no to others, right? So it's kind of like similar, right?
I don't think it is actually. I think that's just a strategic thing. I like it. It's cool. I like the fact that when you say yes to something, you say no to something else. I think that's a strategic thing you're mentioning. Let me ask you this related question. Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule?
Yeah.
Yeah. All of us have, right? In the business space.
That's Perry Marshall, right?
Actually, it's before him. It's a guy named Wilfredo Pareto, like 100 years ago in Italy. Yeah, he discovered that like 80% of the yield of his garden came from 20% of the plants. And he just started noticing this 80-20 thing everywhere he looked.
Our guests say, so basically living an authentic life in aspects. That's from Ed Legger.
Yeah, so Ed, you're dead on. Basically living an authentic life in all aspects, right? That's a big word, but that is the only word that actually will unlock your next level of potential. So here's the thing with 80-20. We hear a lot about 80-20, which is, listen, if you want to get your business from here to here, then if you focus on 80% of the most important revenue producing activities, 20% of the most important revenue producing activities, then you'll generate the bulk of the result, right? Mm-hmm. And this is, that's how 80-20 works. You get most of the result from a little bit of the focus and energy. But the problem, the mistake that we make, Derek and Ed, is that sometimes we think the 80-20 thing applies to life as well. And that we can be our authentic, aligned, best self on the most important things, on the big things, right? On the needle moving things, the high leverage things. But unfortunately, that's not how humans work. How we do anything is how we do everything. And when we drop the ball and we let ourselves slide on the little things, it inevitably, unavoidably affects how we show up with the big things.
I know you can't see this, but I'm holding a brick of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you've been dropping all day. So I'm going to drop this gold.
Be careful, it's heavy. Gold is heavy. Gold is heavy. Yeah, so I mean, yeah.
I wrote down, I am the guide and greatest cheerleader of my team. You know, off the top of my head here, randomly.
Okay, cool. Let's say that again.
I am the guide and greatest cheerleader of my team.
Okay, so I want you to cross out of my team.
Okay. Done. Checked it off the box.
What do you have left?
I am the guide and the greatest cheerleader.
Period.
Period. All right, gotta add that. Period.
So Derek, now here's the big question. Now here's how you apply this. Now you get to step back and go, okay. In the rest of my life, how can I show up as the greatest guide and cheerleader outside of the work I do with my team?
I think the second part of that sentence, like, well, the third word in is very key. Show up, right? Like, sometimes I feel like people they have this idea of how they're going to be for their team and everything, but they're wanting to have that hero that's just going to allow them not to show up, whether it's physically or even at a capacity of leadership. So I think my answer would be that the first step would be to actually show up for them and to motivate them and encourage the wins daily.
Okay, all right. So let's go deeper on this, dude. This is good. It's really good. So here's the mistake we make. We say to ourselves, I want to show up for my team. I'm going to show up for my team. I'm going to be a powerful leader. But are we showing up with that level of commitment and tenacity in every other part of our life? Are we showing up for our parents? Are we showing up for our children? Are we showing up for our romantic partner? Are we showing up as a neighbor in the community? As a leader? When we walk down the street and we see a piece of garbage on the street, do we show up as a leader in that moment, reach down, pick up that garbage, put it in the trash? You see what I mean? Like, how we do anything is how we do everything.
Yeah. Well, even my fiance, which you probably didn't even realize that I am engaged now, by the way. But
Congratulations.
I love her to, like, it's off the charts. But we'll be driving along and she'll see, like, the beggar on the corner, and she doesn't stop usually and give them money. She goes to a store nearby, wherever, and she gets nutritional food. She prepares it in a nice sack and then goes back and delivers it. I'm just like, man, that is the serving spirit. Like, that's one of the things that I admire most about her qualities, and it was relevant to what we're talking about. So, but put in the comments below if you're watching this your I am statement, just like I had said I am the guide and the greatest cheerleader. Maybe we can get some people to respond for us to have feedback. So
do that.
But anyway, yeah.
Well, let's go deeper on yours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would love to invite you, and we don't have to do it right now live, but what I really would like to invite you to do is put your life under the microscope over the next few days, maybe over the weekend, and ask yourself, how can I show up as a guide and the greatest cheerleader in every other part of my life? You know, how does that guy show up in the world? So that when it comes to the time you spend with your team, that's just like one more manifestation of this incredible, powerful person you are. It's not an act, it's not a hat, it's not a role, it's not a performance, it's not a compartmentalized manifestation of your strength, of your highest self. It's just who you are. Yeah, it's just another example of where you're crushing it as this cheerleader and guide in life. That is the secret. And that's the answer to your question.
Yeah, and this has been, well, we haven't talked in a while, but I went on this enormous journey to actually achieve this, and what we're talking about today was like, how am I going to show up to where I'm happy with what I'm doing every day? I want to reduce pressure and noise in my day to day, my commitments, the constraints, the things we kind of led with on this conversation. And I went to 7 different countries over 3 weeks, and because I had set out with some goals 3 years ago. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, whenever Josh and I had kind of started on this journey to build Automate Grosell, and then eventually Send Jim, and to do some amazing things, which we achieved. But I had like my own goals of all that, right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then now I've like done that. The same was with my cleaning company. It was like, I want to build a 6-figure cleaning company. Well, I did it, and then I gave the company away. So I didn't even try to sell it. I lose interest in that because I'm not money driven. I'm impact driven anyway. And so I went on this 3-week journey with some friends and toured with the symphony. We traveled, played, and I got to watch them perform in amazing concert halls all over the place, and it was just this epic adventure. But I was really analyzing kind of the identity part of what I needed to create as this final, like, I guess not final, like when we give up on trying to improve, I think is in itself almost failure, right? Like, what do I want to do now that I've kind of had everything that I set out to do? And so that's why whenever after that trip, I left my day-to-day commitments with the software company and started a new journey in the space of, one, getting my marketing management company off the ground, and then 2, being able to work one-on-one with more visionary entrepreneurs to help them create more impact, like I had done with Josh. And so that's been a bit of my process so far, was just getting clear on the results that I'm looking to bring in the next sprint, if you will, 1-year objective, and then creating the 90-day targets that I'm looking to meet. Ed Legger says, I am the vision model committed to motivate my team.
I am the vision model committed to motivate my team.
Mm-hmm. That's what he says.
So I am the vision. So the visionary model, like the role model.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So is that the sense you get, Derek? That's what he
That
means?
is the sense I get. Is I am the like vision. If we were to trade that word for role model, committed to motivate my team.
Okay, cool. So Ed, take out all those words, committed to motivating my team, and just bring it down to I am a visionary role model. Period. And then that becomes the North Star for you in terms of identity. That is your objective every single day.
There's so much pressure released when you're not having to hold yourself accountable to an audacious revenue-based goal of a measurement, right? So it's like a lot of people, I feel, get it in their head they have to hit these numbers and these KPIs and everything in order to measure leveling up, right? Like on this bar, and they don't have like a critical number that's driving all outcomes and allows them to have a different style of scorecard. And what I encourage my students to do is to create this critical number. And so here's some examples of some of these numbers is like 10,000 bright views that we've come up with, right? So an example, it's a window cleaning company. Their team can get behind that soul instead of we need to hit $500,000, for example. It's not something that they can really believe in because it's just money in their leader's pocket, essentially. They don't have the ownership of that goal. And so they're doing, like 10,000 bright views. So you can measure that because every window is a bright view, right? Or like mine is to help inspire 1,000 people to become, in the lab, service geniuses, right? So we have a Facebook group called Service Genius Lab, and it's to basically have 1,000 members in that, right? And we just started the group, and so I'm able to have that scorecard and our daily meetings with my team. Like I'm like, hey guys, we're at 100 members last week. We're at 130. Like it's growing, and and all the objectives and targets that we're setting is driven off that outcome rather than like a stressful revenue-based goal.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. And I mean, I agree with you that revenue-based goals are not the thing to focus on if you really want to achieve them. You can't obsess over them and focus on them. You have to do everything else that's required to make that goal happen. But I think it is good to hold yourself to an accountable goal, especially if you need to hit it. And again, we're talking about ourselves.
Right. Not like
how to motivate the team to care about us hitting our goal. But I'm talking about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. But I like how you use the term that we need to, I like what you said about the KPIs. We have to open ourselves up to the possibility that there might be different KPIs that we want to start measuring. So in your case, Derek, what's your identity statement again?
I am the guide and greatest cheerleader.
Yeah, and for Ed, I'm the visionary role model. So let me close the loop here. Let me share with you Einstein's, I'm actually going to call it theory of excellence because he's all about the theories, not the laws. So excellence is a function of you being congruent in the little things and the big things. And another way of saying that is that excellence is a function of micro congruence multiplied by macro congruence, which just so happens creates this formula.
E equals mc squared.
That's right. So that's why I call it Einstein's theory of excellence. Yeah, excellence is a function of us showing up with the little things, with the same level of obsession and tenacity as a visionary role model in the case of Ed, or with you as a cheerleader and guide in the little things and the big things. In fact, you make the big things inevitable by doing it in all the little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creating the levers, right? That you can pull to have that momentum.
Well, your entire life becomes a lever at that point, right? Because everything you do is in alignment with that. Everything you do. Yeah, and when you reach that level of commitment, you know what else happens? A switch goes off in our head. And we go, okay, I'm that guy. You know, when Ed shows up, when you show up as a visionary role model in every relationship and every interaction and every scenario, you start to believe that you're that guy. So that when you are actually with your team or with a potential client that needs a visionary person to see what's possible and to inspire them to make an investment they've never made before, to achieve a result they've never achieved before, for you to show up powerfully in that moment, you have to really believe you are who you say you are. And the only way for you to really believe that, like in the very fiber of your being, is for you to be that guy every day, day in, day out. Does that make sense?
To live it.
To be it. Be it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If we want more, or if we want different, we have to be more. It's not just about strategies and tactics. We actually have to be more.
Yeah, actually, you actually have to, like, be better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's been a little bit, and I know that we probably both have some things to do. We just kind of get carried away when we get together, it seems like. But can you tell everybody where they can get their hands on Unlock Your Next Level book?
Yeah, so I would recommend, if you want to check out this book, go to Amazon and just type in this title, Unlock Your Next Level. Mm-hmm. Or if they want, they can go to my website, watch a little video or two first. And my website is kevindubrosky.com. I'm sure you could drop a little link in.
Yeah, I can drop that link, and also unlockyournextlevel.com redirects.
That's right, to that website.
Awesome. Cool. I just put that in the comments there. And Kevin, as always, man, don't let it go so long before we touch base next time. And actually, I passively just mentioned the trip I went on. Well, I haven't had a passport. This is my first time to get a passport. And so now I can actually come to Canada and hang out.
That will allow you to cross the border.
Yeah, so anyway, looking forward to that. And if you come south of the border, it is warmer down here. It's
definitely warmer.
And there's always a place for you. So
thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. And I will talk to you soon. For all of those that joined us today, thank you so much for your comments. I honor you and in taking the initiative to sit through in this entire, presentation and discussion. and congratulate you for you. Maybe you didn't comment below, but if you've taken the initiative to define your I am statement and to decide who you are and what you're going to be, right? I praise you, congratulate you, and honor everything that you're doing with your team, your family, and yourself. So thank you very much, and thank you, Kevin, and bye for now.
Sounds great. Bye for now.
Bye for now. We'll talk to you later.